Hey, it's Dante again. This is a part 2 of Reflective Material Grades 101. I'm gonna go over some. I'm gonna go over some of the stuff that I have. Like, here's my entire sign collection. Some of my signs, like my handicap parking sign and my one-way sign, unfortunately, are not reflective. But like the difference between there's my turning arrow safety sign that is used by that was used by a construction company that I'm currently an acquaintance with. But this is a engineer grade sheeting. There's two different types of engineer grade. There's two different types of sheetings. You have this is an engineer grade sheeting, example of engineer grade. I can't see it in person, but I can see it in the camera record as it is reflecting. So it is the lowest grade, and there's the newer engineer grade stuff from 3M. There's actually, and especially I saw a little bit of engineer grade at a crosswalk over by where I go after school, which uses a engineer grade Prismatic. I think this is a beaded engineer grade sheeting. And my speed limit sign, the high intensity, which I believe is a type 3 high intensity sheeting. The reason why it's called a type 3 or the other sheeting called a beaded sheeting, because a type 3 high intensity is an example of beaded sheeting. Why it's called a beaded sheeting, because it has glass beads. Like the newer requirements of since 2008 or 2009, I think, these has a federal guideline that city and government agencies must meet, which the reflective material must meet a minimum of retroreflectivity, a certain minimum. I don't know what the minimum is going to be, but because I haven't done some research on that yet. But I believe my speed limit sign, which the reflective sheeting on my speed limit sign, which I believe is a type 3 high intensity. I don't think this is Avery Dennison's. Now I realize, I don't know if this is Avery Dennison's high intensity, but because Avery Dennison's high intensity looks a lot like a type 3 high intensity. And I think this is a high, and I believe that this is a type 3 high intensity, but why it's called a type 3 high intensity, because it's got glass beads encapsulated into the reflective material that gives it that nice retroreflectivity. And yet the reason why I think this is a beaded engineer grade, because like I said, got the glass beads encapsulated into it, which gives it that nice retroreflectivity. Like originally, before the reflective sheeting era, which I believe didn't start until 1999 or 1998, maybe. The way to reflect the older signs had like a similar method, but it's not sheeting. It actually has cat eye reflectors, as those signs are already phased out, but not with my type 3 high intensity sheeting and the engineer grade beaded sheeting on these two signs right here. These signs are slowly being phased out as prismatic reflective material is coming along. There's three different types of high intensity. You got the type 3 high intensity, which I believe is this on my speed limit sign. The high intensity prismatic, which is found on my two out of 3 of my stop signs. Well, one of them's a stop slow sign. And then you have the type 3 high intensity, which is the beaded high intensity. then the prismatic high intensity, and then the ultra high intensity, which I believe, which Avery Denison's Omnicube is an example. Omnicube sheeting is an example of ultra high intensity. And why it's called an ultra high intensity, because it's a full cubic high intensity, because it's got these cube prisms. This is not one of those examples, but it does look a lot like a type 3 high intensity. The ultra high intensity sheeting looks a lot like a type 3 high intensity, as it's got, but the difference you can tell is you can see how it has full cube prisms in there. That's while that ultra high intensity as well as a diamond grade prismatic sheeting are an example of on my do not enter sign, are an example of are a respective example of full cube sheetings. Which, however, and yet my do not enter sign is and yet these signs are, like I said, like the cat eye reflectors signs have been already phased out, and like the beaded my beaded engineer grade sheet, the engineer grade beaded sheeting, the high type 3 high intensity sheeting, they're slowly being phased out as more prismatic material are taking control of everything. And my do not enter sign, as well as my 2 stop signs, this is an example of a prismatic sheeting. Diamond grade's a higher grade, same with ultra high intensity, which are both higher grades, and are the high in like diamond grade and ultra high intensity are the highest grades possible. As they are both full cube prismatic. Why they call it a full cubed prismatic is because it's got full cubed prisms encapsulated into the reflective sheeting, and it gives it that nice high end, high gain power, or maxed out grade. The 3 grades of reflectivity is the engineer grade, the high intensity grade, and the full cube grade. Why ultra high intensity is another example of a full cubed prismatic, because it's actually got the full, because it actually has full, although it takes the appearance of a type 3 high intensity, but although it has full cubed prisms encapsulated into the sheeting. And unlike unlike the diamond grade sheeting, the cube prisms are visible. And the cubed prisms look a lot like these little squares. That's what it looks a lot like on my plaque sign that is on my right plaque sign that's used to mod the left lane end sign to where it transforms into a right lane end sign. I gotta see if this is a full cube. It kind of shine at the same brightness, maybe? But this is a good reflexite. Yes? What's that?
Crunchy chicken, potato Lay's, ranch dressing.
Thanks, Dad. Is there any tacos?
No.
Oh, so that's all you got?
Yeah.
Please excuse it. That was my dad. Dad giving me some food, but as this might be an I think this is an example of a reflexite material. But all the reflexite materials, most of the reflexite materials are often used for vehicles instead of signs. But with that being the exception of those construction site roll-up signs, which is like the reflexite Super Bright and the reflexite Marathon, and and like this is the different. This is me going over, which I believe this is a example of a reflexite, unknown grade though. This might be an estimate of a this might be an estimate of another appearance of a cubed super bright material. Maybe that's just my guess. But beaded, reflexite, and prismatic are two different things, although they are in the same category, which is reflective sheetings. And yeah. But reflexite is still being used today on roll-up signs, and especially in tape form, used on school buses as like day bright, which reflexite day bright are not used on road signs, but reflexite super bright and reflexite marathon actually are usable for signs, but reflexite super bright is only used for roll-up signs. But reflexite materials are most of the time on transport vehicles. On transport vehicles like a school bus, for example. Like reflexite marathon is used on school buses, but the exception to that is the roll-up signs. Is the orange roll-up signs. And yeah. So I'm just put my so that's all I have to say. This is reflective sheeting grades 101 part 2, which is going over the difference between reflexite, beaded, reflexite, and prismatic. So, like I said about the Omnicube from Avery Dennison, actually is an ultra high intensity, which that's the only ultra high intensity you'll find on road signs. But like on that stop sign video I did a while back, 2 years ago maybe, that high intensity on that newer stop sign from last year was a ultra high intensity from Avery Dennison, excuse me. But although the company calls it Omnicube, but like I said, Avery Dennison is an ultra high Omnicube is a ultra high intensity, but the ultra high intensity Prismatics is actually equivalent to diamond grade, as both ultra high intensity and diamond grade are both an example of full cubed sheetings, which is way more visible than regular high intensity and diamond grade and engineer grade. So anyways, thanks for watching.